All right. Now that Jeff has convinced me that the play-in tournament is a good thing, we can talk to somebody who actually knows a little bit about basketball, who's making faces now that, yes, Jeff Cohen, Keith, before you got on the air, Keith Pompey joins us to talk some basketball, Sixers, NBA playoffs. Jeff has tried to somehow take the stand, which shocked me that I am the get off my lawn person for not having a strong take opposing the play-in tournament, while Jeff is now a big super fan of the play-in tournament. Your thoughts on that conversion?
Well, that's an exaggeration, but go ahead.
You want me to give it or Jeff to give it?
Oh, no, so he already gave me his take, which was to sit on one side of the fence and then hop right to the other side of the fence. So it's your turn.
Okay, so I don't like the play-in tournament at all because here's the problem. So you look at the Miami Heat; they just got screwed, and the reason is they're probably going to lose to they're going to lose to Chicago, right? But the deal is they had I think it was 8 games. They had 8 more wins than an 82 game season should count for something. Now Jimmy Butler gets hurt in the play-in game. He's not going to play. You got Terry Rozier, who was injured and they didn't play in the play-in game. So to me, I think they're going to lose to the Chicago Bulls. And guess what? So you mean to tell me what happened the first 82 games doesn't matter? I'm sorry. To me, I love the NBA. I do. But there's a lot of gimmick stuff going on, man. Let's keep it real. It's all for fans. TV ratings. Yeah, this isn't what you guys wanted.
Whoa, ratings, hold on a second. Time out. Now, Jason will get all excited talking TV ratings. I could care less about ratings. We know that to be the case.
Then why do you do it?
But when you say, the first thing you said was they do it for fans. Well, yeah, that of course they do it for fans. That's what sports is.
Yeah, it is for fans, but it's a gimmick thing. Dude, okay, so here's the thing. The 2 things that I don't like about the NBA, and I love the NBA, but 2 things I don't like. I can't stand the in-season tournament, right? For a while, it looked good for a minute until you realize the Pacers almost were a play-in team, and then you look at it, and the Lakers are a play-in team. So you're like, okay, so they did all that, and everybody's anointing them as champions. The Lakers hung a banner, and they probably won't get out the first round of the real playoffs, right? So then you look at the play-in tournament. The Miami Heat. They had the 8th best record. They were a game behind the Sixers, who basically were a couple were tied, and they could have been the 5th place team, right? So you're telling me Miami was that close, but because Jimmy Butler gets hurt in the play-in game, a team that basically was about to give up the season is now going to be the AFC. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't seem fair. It just doesn't.
Jeff, I'm squarely back on the fence now. Keith has converted me back to not your side, not either side.
Look, I understand what you're saying. I just think that having more teams that have a rooting interest closer to the end of the season is better. And let's face it, if there was no play-in tournament, would the Lakers be in it?
Yeah, because they had the Lakers would have been in it because they played in the 7/8 game. So that's how it goes.
All right. Let me rephrase that. Would the Golden State Warriors have been in it?
But they didn't deserve to be in it.
I know that they didn't deserve to be in it, but the fact is that people want to see Steph Curry as much as you can see Steph Curry.
True, but
and I'm not saying that you rig the results in order to make sure that the players are in it, but I think that this doesn't do any harm. And I always get frustrated when people say, well, somebody got hurt in something like this. They could have got hurt in the first game 1 of whatever series they were in.
I'm shocked you're on this side of the argument. You're the traditionalist on the show. And
yeah, I mean, that's
we have totally reversed roles here on this show.
I don't know, man.
Well, the play-in tournaments, I still make a stink face over. And when Keith mentioned hanging a banner, it took everything not to fall off my chair, because the fact that the Lakers, this storied franchise is going to hang a banner because they won a little tournament in the middle of the season, that's a hard one to swallow.
They're going to put a statue outside.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, let's get to
when LeBron is inducted into the Hall of Fame. That's the first thing they're going to mention.
He's the first man to win an in-season tournament. Never mind, he's the all-time scorer. He led the
He
Lakers to
captained
an
the
NCAA,
inaugural
and then they got
play-in
boat
tournament.
raced in the first round of the real play.
Jeff, we're back to boat racing. Have you learned what that is yet this week? You're still confused.
Well, spring is
Ohio
coming. I'm going
State's
to go
gonna do
find
to
a boat
Michigan.
race to
That's
watch.
what.
Yeah, Jeff needs to go get on a boat and figure out what it is. All right.
Mm.
So let's talk about the playing game. Sixers have now won 9 in a row. They're 32-8 this season when Embiid's in the lineup. But that first half, Keith, that was some ugly basketball. It was 51-39. And I texted Jeff. I know he wasn't watching because he was working very hard, diligently.
How dare I?
But I said it looked like this team had never seen a zone before.
No,
What the hell happened in the first half of that game before we get to the second half of it?
It was horrible, wasn't it? I mean, because you knew, like, here's the thing about that first half of that game. You can, like, I'm tired of the Jimmy Butler, I'm tired of the Bam Adebayo, like, storylines, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, they're great players.
It's the zone.
But the Sixers is exactly
every time.
It's the zone and it's the 3-point shooters, right? And what happened is you look there and you're like, I know that they're prepared for this zone. I know they're prepared for this zone. And they just weren't. It looked like, the first time that they rolled the zone out and they're like, hey, daddy, what's this? What's that? You know what I mean? It was bad. And it was hard to watch. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, the Sixers looked soft in the first half too. Like, Miami was physical. They were bringing it to them, and they are very thankful to have Nico Batum because he took over in that third quarter, and that's the reason they won, man. I'll be honest. That's the reason they won. If Nico didn't play, they would have lost. Huh?
Not bricking for chicken. Because after
the bricking for chicken was funny too, though, right? But then
after the bricking for chicken, the Sixers went on a 56-45 run, and the crowd got back in the game, so we can laugh about that. But they were booing them off the court at that point, and all of a sudden, the crowd's back in the game, and the Sixers score 66 points in the second half. Now, let's talk about Nico, because you don't expect that from him. 17 of his 20 points in the second half. His defense was great. He was all over the court. He helped hold Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero down. Tyler Hero was 9 for 27. And Butler, you could talk about the injury. He was 5 of 18. So talk about the performance that we saw from him on the court.
Oh, Nico was phenomenal. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people talk about the threes, and the threes were big, but that block that he had was huge. And then also the final play of the game where he just let my man, because Tyler Hero was trying to draw the foul, and he just slid out of the way, went out of bounds, and Tyler hit the three. Game over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got within one, but you're not getting to the foul line. I think that his awareness and his basketball IQ is huge. Now, here's the thing about Nico. He's a guy that when he was in when he was in Portland, he was kind of like the point forward. He played defense, but then he goes to Charlotte and then goes to the Clippers, and he's here. And now, what is he? Okay, go in there and play D, and make some inbounds passes, do the little things. He's older now, but he can play. But at the same time, it's kind of like he's a guy that knows his role. The only problem is with the Sixers, and I love Nico, great guy. But if you got to rely on Nico Batum hitting 6 threes and blocking shots and doing all that stuff, like for you guys to win every game, they're going to lose more than they can, because that was like I'm not saying an out of body experience, but that's something that you expect from like a Steph Curry. Like, you don't expect that from Tyrese Maxey. You don't respect that from Joel Embiid. You don't respect that from LeBron James. So the performance that he had, although it was phenomenal, we got to realize if you have to rely on that, you're in trouble.
Let's go back to the zone for a second. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that Miami employs the zone. Nick Nurse is supposed to be the better X's and O's coach as opposed to Doc Rivers. Is it Nick Nurse not being prepared for that zone, or was Joel Embiid and the rest of the team just not up to the task and not capable of it? And then the second part of that is, if that's a problem, what are they going to do against the Knicks that have better players to throw at them with a zone?
You know what? That's a great question, but I honestly think that you know, if you look at it recently, and it's not a knock against Tyrese Maxey, but it looked like to me that he was attacking it the wrong way, or he wasn't attacking it. Like, he's a quick guy. I was expecting him to find his space, go inside of it. You know what I mean? Because they were going to have to foul him and then just kick it out or do something. But to me, it was like they were rushing horrible shots and they were missing them. And like that problem is, I think that to break a zone, I mean, y'all play basketball. Like to break a zone, you got to have a pretty
Well,
good point guard, and you have to have shooters. So to me, it looked like okay, y'all really miss Marcus Morris right about now. Like y'all miss these other guys who are big game players, in my opinion. It just looked like I don't think it was the coach. I felt like Maxie wasn't attacking it the right way, honestly, and that was that's my opinion.
And what are
I
they going to do? So what are they going to do against the Knicks?
Well, they better hope the Knicks don't do it. Apparently, Tibbs, in 4 seasons, they've only did the zone on 64 defensive possessions. That's it in 4 seasons. Tibbs is one of those guys who thinks that the zone is cheating basketball. He wants to play man to man. So they hope that Tibbs is the type of guy that says, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to steal a penny or from the candy store. Like, no one's watching. They better hope that he does that because I feel like if they get in trouble and they go to that zone, the Sixers could be in trouble, dude. That's just my opinion.
and and I made a big deal to you when we had you on last about how it's the first time the Sixers had a coaching advantage. And then I'm watching them not take on the zone in the first half, and I'm sitting there going, "What the hell was I saying?" But you're right. In the second
Wait, hold on. Now I have a question for you.
yeah,
You thought that the Sixers, Nick Nurse was a
not
coaching advantage over Eric
not
Spoelstra?
over Spolstra, but the matchup wasn't set. We didn't know what seed
Okay.
they were going to be. And I said for the first year, I'm actually not concerned about the Sixers coach because he'll make adjustments. Now, that's what they did in the second half. You saw Buddy Hield starting to slash to the bucket. You saw Kelly Oubre start to break it down. You saw Maxey start to drive more and kick. And that's when they broke down the zone. Now, from a coaching standpoint, you talked about what would happen at the end of the game with Batum. They said a minute before that inbounds play at the end of the game that he blocked Hero's shot. The coaches went over that exact play with him and told him what was going to happen. So, yeah, I do think that the coaching mattered. And I didn't think that they weren't prepared in the first half, but I didn't think they were executing in the first half. What did you think about how the coaching matchup went and the adjustments that were made in game?
I mean, I think whatchamacallit was getting the best of him early on. I do. I mean, I just do. I mean, I think that he made some adjustments afterwards, but I think that if it was a fight, uh, Spoelstra just hit him with a haymaker early on and
Yeah.
dazed him, and then he came back with an uppercut, and then they got it on. But like it was just, I just felt like, I mean, the coaching was good, but Spo is the one thing about Spo. Like everybody gets a lot of credit, right? Like Nick Nurse does, other coaches do. But the thing about Spoelstra, since he's with that Heat culture and he has Pat Riley, a lot of people don't like give him the credit that he's due, that just due. But he is regarded as one of the top 15 coaches in the NBA all time. And you look at that roster that he has. I mean, Jimmy Butler is a great player. Bam Adebayo is good. He's undersized, but they're always competitive, and I think it's because of Spo's coaching. I think he's very underrated. So I think that no offense to Nick Nurse, I like Nick Nurse, but you have to give Spo the advantage, and he did that. But I give Nick Nurse credit that he did make adjustments. But I'm gonna be honest with you, y'all. I honestly think if Nico Batum did not hit those shots, the Sixers would be playing for the eighth seed because we can say they made adjustments, but I just feel like he was just making shots. The rest of them, and then other guys follow suit because when you look at it, Tobias Harris shot four
Oh,
for 10. Kyle Lowry shot 3 for 10. Joel Embiid shot 6 for 17. He was 3 for 12 through 3 quarters. Tyrese Maxey was 6 for 16. So Nico Batum was the guy who saved the day for him. Even down to Buddy Hield, you say he was slashing, right? and he had assists. He played well. But from three, he was 1 for 5. So, yes, the slashing was a great adjustment. Joel Embiid hit some threes in the fourth quarter that were huge for them. But aside from that, I just felt like it was the Nico Batum show. If not for him, they would have lost, man, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
well, the show it was not was Tobias Harris. Um, he missed layups again. I don't understand where that comes. I don't know if this is there are players in Major League Baseball that got things called the yips, but it seems like that Tobias Harris more times than not misses those easy layups in clutch situations. What goes on with him? This is a talented player who on some nights can just light it up, and on other nights it just looks like he's not Simmons-esque and not wanting to take the shot, but when he takes the shot, it just doesn't seem like he's committed to it.
Tobias is a different type of dude, and what I mean by that is like he's like Kelly is different in the aspect of you don't have to run plays for Kelly. Kelly just gets the ball, he does it. I feel like Tobias, like if he's not touching the ball, he's off rhythm. Like when he does it, things are forced, right? And it just seems like that's how it is. That's the only way that I can explain it. Like whenever he has the ball and he's running through it, then he makes those layups. But then it's like, they're running down the court and they're doing a fast break. Tobias doesn't handle the ball before you give him the ball, and then it just seems like he goes off his foot. But I don't know. It looked like to me the moment was big for a lot of guys, and maybe it was for him too at certain stretches, just because I felt like, when you're talking about his first shot was an air ball, right? The first shot of the game that he shot, I believe, was an air ball. Then he came back and he made two like layups, whatever. But in that second quarter, you're right. He missed a bunny. He got the
A
pit
bunny, Keith. A
and he
bunny.
missed another one,
When
right?
did this
So,
word come up? I have
Jeff gave
never
me
heard before this morning. Jason used it too, and Jason should not be using words like that because he's not cool. You can at
yeah,
least get away with it.
come
When
on,
when
man.
did we
You've been
start
hanging
calling
around.
layups bunnies?
I mean, they've been doing that for a while, just like boat race, man.
oh
Like,
my
dude,
god.
you got to get out. See, the problem with you was when you were coming up, you were in the history. You was in that book too. You were in the book. He was like, oh, he missed the layup. Nah, man. Where I came from, they said he missed the bunny.
I said the same. I didn't come from where you came from, but I know it's a bunny when you
Yeah,
miss a close
yeah.
layup. And I said it
Well,
earlier.
we definitely didn't come from where Jeff came from.
No, he called me out like you can't be talking like that. I'm like, he missed a close layup. What are you
Yeah,
Yeah,
talking?
well, where Jason grew up, I don't think they were using the word bunny except for the things
no.
that people had in their backyards in a little hutch,
They didn't even let me go on the
or
court.
the little slippers that they would wear before they would go to bed.
Where you from, Jason? Cherry Hill.
Yeah, I'm from Marlton.
So you
Sleep
went to eat. Where you go to high school?
Cherokee. I
Oh,
was
you went to Cherokee. Oh, yeah. My cousin graduated from there.
yeah, I was a local kid. I wasn't playing basketball anyway. I wasn't playing
Yeah.
basketball
Yeah,
at
by
like
the
Hey, you
way,
know what they were doing? They were bringing kids in to play basketball.
Keith. Jeff still laughs about when we tried out for the Blue Coats and they asked me to try to dribble through my legs. Okay.
see, and I actually was good when Keith said you guys played basketball. I actually kept almost a straight face and did not point out that Jason has never played anything that looks like basketball.
I played basketball. I did not play basketball well.
Competitively.
And
Yeah.
well, no, not even like for practice against little kids. So don't worry, it's nothing like that. But so let me ask about the men among boys on this team, Joel Embiid, which I can't believe that we're this far into the interview and we haven't asked you about him because this team will go as far as he is healthy to go. That is very clear.
And he can only go forward and back. He appears not to be able to go laterally, so they're only going as far as he goes forward and back.
I know they don't really give you injury updates, but obviously there was the scare against Orlando where he left the game before they got in the playoffs. I was shocked he came back in the way that looked. He clearly looked like he was struggling, but then he put it together in the second half. What's your thoughts on Embiid, and is he going to be able to hold up for this run?
That's the $1 million question. I didn't like what I saw in the first 3 quarters, and again, he made a couple shots, but those shots that he made were like 3 pointers. Like we didn't see him down in the post, like pounding, being a dominant force that he developed into over time. He looked like a guy in the past where he's in the perimeter because he's he's banged up and he's hitting he's like taking set shots and stuff like that. So that concerned me a little bit. To me, I feel like that's the major question. Like it's one of those things where the 76ers said, oh well, he could have played on Sunday, but we took him out for precautionary reasons. Well, when you looked at him, you're like, well, maybe he didn't play because his knee is messed up again, right? So to me, I think that no one can really answer the question, Jason, until we actually see what happens, on Saturday night. Because Joel Embiid, let's face it, no offense to Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, Nico, Batum, but this team was above a lottery team without Joel. But then when you have a dominant Joel, a lot of people think they could go far in the playoffs. If he's not dominant, it could get ugly for them. It could. I mean, it just could because he's so much of what they have.
Question for you, OG Anunoby. What exactly is the beef between Joel Embiid and him?
I don't really know. Like I just feel like, I think OG is a great defender. Joel is an offensive guy. They get into it, and they just go at it. You know what I mean? They just go at it. But I mean, I think it's more like the gamesmanship. I don't know. Maybe they might have, OG's from London, England. Joel's from he's from the Cameroon, but he's down with the French guys. Maybe like they're having this
Wow,
little
look
back.
at you pulling out history from the 1800s.
Oh yeah, I was in the books.
He learned
Right
about
before.
Ben bunnies, Jeff.
Yeah, before we go to the rest of the NBA, Paul Reed.
What the
Why?
hell? Shut his mouth.
Come on, Paul. Really? Like
Go
Paul
to
really should just play basketball. Like what did he realize that it wasn't a good idea? Did somebody talk to him afterwards and say, "Hey, don't be giving bulletin board material"?
Paul doesn't care. That's the thing. Like,
I know that.
yeah, he doesn't care. I mean, I remember one time I was in the locker room with him, and there was another player, and Paul was telling me stuff, and the guy was like, "Man, chill, Paul. Like, nah, don't do that. Don't do that." I was like, "I don't care. I don't care. I don't care." Like, what I mean? I think there are certain guys. Like, I'll be honest with you. I don't really have a problem with it, and maybe it's because I'm a reporter and you love it. But at the same time, I feel like if you got to get somebody to say something to get you motivated, then were you really motivated to win? Like,
No,
you know what I
but
mean?
you
Like,
don't
I
ask
think it's
for it.
overrated, huh?
You don't poke the bear, especially Paul Reed. It's one thing if the leader of your team starts saying we're going to win. Paul Reed saying it, you're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, you're asking for it, but you're right. But some players they need that bullseye to get them motivated. Maybe
Okay.
having that bullseye on his chest motivates him. I mean, but the thing about it, it is who he is, man. He's been saying that for a while. You remember when he said, and you remember when he said, Anthony Davis, like, is like he is a flopper. You know what I mean? And people are like, oh my gosh, but that's just Paul. And a lot of times I think Paul just talks. Like I think he doesn't realize that he says something, but he doesn't realize the impact that it's going to have, if that makes sense to you. But
Yeah.
believe me, he said like he called Anthony Davis a flopper, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's going to get you," and nothing happened.
Well, he is a flopper.
We'll see what happens in this series. This is the first meeting against the Knicks in the postseason since 1989. Sixers lost 3 of 4 against them in the regular season, but Embiid only played in one of those games. Julius Randle out from surgery, but obviously Jalen Brunson there. And with OG Anunoby, they've only given up 100 points per 100 possessions, which is the lowest figure in the league with a rotation player like that. Talk about what the Sixers are going to face with the Knicks, and it looks like it's going to be like a knockdown, drag out fight.
Yeah, I mean the stuff that they had against the Miami Heat as far as the aggressiveness, but I think the Knicks are more athletic and healthier. I mean, the difference is the Heat, if you look at it, yeah, they had Jimmy Butler, but they had Tyler Hero, they had Bam. But for the most part, they had a lot of guys who, but besides their rookies, but they had a lot of guys who were two-way guys or undrafted guys who brought the lunch bell. I think with the Knicks, They have guys who are really aggressive. You know, they can play the ball well, play well on defense. But my only concern about the Knicks is that they rely so heavily on Jalen Brunson, right? You know, the fact that Julius Randle was out, and I also understand like, and I think when you go into the playoffs, and we learned this from the Sixers, right? You go into the playoffs, and a lot of times, a lot of these regular season stats, you got to throw them out because people make adjustments. You know, they have more time to study you and do things like that. And the only thing that I will say about the Knicks, y'all, and I'm sorry if I keep talking if I'm talking too much. But the one thing I will say about the Knicks is the last couple of years, they were a phenomenal regular season team. And then when the playoffs happened, they were fortunate the one time to play Cleveland, another phenomenal regular season team. So the biggest question mark that I have with the Knicks is yes, all that stuff you did down the stretch and the way you played without Randall, are you going to be able to do that in the playoff series? So there's a lot of question marks. But Jalen Brunson has been phenomenal. Like he was fourth in the league in scoring. He was averaging like 38 points, I believe, over like the last like 5 games or something like that. So he's been phenomenal. But I just got to see, are you guys going to be able to keep that up in the postseason?
All right. Well, before we let you go, let's talk Western Conference just for a minute. The one that everybody's got their eye on, Lakers, Nuggets. Do the Lakers really have a chance in this, or is it just the media trying to hype this thing up so that this series is a little more exciting than it actually will be?
I think they're really trying to hype it up. I mean, you know, TV ratings, the whole nine. I mean, here's the thing, you know, you look at it, the thing that scares me about the Lakers is when they played and they lost a game last week and LeBron says, yeah, we can't win without AD. We can't win without AD. Like, well, who are these other guys, right? And you look at their roster, and a lot of these guys are lottery picks who and their teams gave up on, and they came to the Lakers. And you know, I'm not talking about all of them. I'm talking about, you know, but there's several of them, right? So I don't think they have a chance. No, I don't. And to be honest with you, like for a while, I was like, yo, what's going on? Because I was watching the play-in game and I see Zion like giving them, you know, the business. I go to the refrigerator to get some orange juice. I come back. I'm like, yo, where's Zion at? Where's Zion at? And I'm like, and I'm thinking, what's going on? So to me, like they were fortunate to beat New Orleans, in my opinion, because Zion was hurt, and I don't see it. I mean, they could possibly win a game or two, but I don't see it, man. I just don't. You remember how last year the Joker was just dominating Anthony Davis, right? And then you look at like who's going to stop Jamal Murray? Like who? You know, I just think that this team is great. They're a team that you know they finished second, right? A team that's ready for the playoffs. I think that they're going to come out of the West, and I think they'll beat the Lakers in probably 5 games.
I want to ask about the impact of one more injury. Giannis out 2 to 4 weeks with the calf. It looks like. Can the Bucks and Dame Lillard hold off the Pacers?
No, I don't think so because Dame struggled his last game. Dame is dealing with a groin injury. So, you know, and then not only that, you know, so you have Giannis, who is you know a great two-way player, right? So he erases certain things. I mean, he's not a center, but he erases certain things. He's 7 feet. Now you have Dame. Yeah, he's probably going to score points, but his groin is bothering him. But on defense, he's going to get attacked left and right. You know, I don't see that happening. No. And then, you know, I hate to say it, like, you know, they started off what 30-13, and then they fired a coach, and now they're like 500 and we're hovering around 500 the rest of the way. Nah, I see them. I see them going out in the first round 2 years in a row.
Wow. All right. Here's the big question: NFL draft's coming up. Who are the Giants taking?
I hope they don't take that quarterback from Michigan.
Oh, I do. But go ahead.
Nah, you know what? I think they may take the guy from Michigan. You know, I mean, you know, I think they will. But my whole thing is I'm a little confused about the Giants If we're going to be real, like
so
you
the
gave
rest of the
Daniel,
NFL.
you gave Daniel Jones all that money, and now you're about to draft a quarterback, but you need a quarterback, but you also need a running back. You also need other positions. So
Got your running back, Keith.
yeah.
Running back is the least of their worries. They need a quarterback.
Yeah, well, that's what
unless
they
you're back on
always
the
say.
Danny Dimes train. If you want that, I'll be sure.
Haven't you both
Get your
told
Danny
me?
Dimes
Look, you know
jersey.
what? At this point, go
Oh,
get
here
me
it comes.
somebody, someone else, and put Tyrod Taylor out there. Like, I'm serious. Like, I just
Tyrod Taylor can't stay healthy ever.
Haven't you guys told
it's
me
because they
none of
don't
this
have a
matters?
line.
I was gonna say, haven't you guys
No,
told me that none of this
everywhere he
matters?
goes, he has this problem.
None of this matters,
Yeah.
as you both have told me, until there aren't 5 garbage cans blocking for whoever is in your backfield.
No, we need better than 5 garbage cans.
That's what
the Giants have 5 garbage cans. That's not the problem.
Question isn't who the Giants will draft. It's if they draft JJ McCarthy. Keith, what's your jersey size so that Jeff can get you one? We want to make sure that you're prepared to show your support for a Michigan man leading your Giants.
Oh man, I mean, like, it's weird how this whole JJ McCarthy thing is. I mean, I get it; he is a winner, right? But isn't it crazy how, like, he before he won that championship, no one was really talking about him.
He
You know what I
doesn't
mean? It was
grade
like
out. He
We
all
were
doesn't.
the
talking
other
about him.
quarterbacks.
Don't worry, we were talking about him.
He doesn't.
Y'all were?
You're a
Oh, you
Michigan.
mean the Michigan people?
Yeah,
That's right.
he doesn't grade out as the 4th pick in the draft, but the hype around him seems that he will go up at that level. So, look, if you guys take him, we'll have plenty to talk about. That's for damn sure.
I just hope he doesn't end up like Ryan Leaf or
In
Matt
jail.
Leinart or
That might crush Jeff if that happened to a Michigan man.
it could happen.
All right, Keith. We will look out for your coverage in the Inquirer at Pompeii on Sixers. Thanks so much for always giving us some time to break it down, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. And go Ohio State. And Rutgers is only going to win 2 games.
Oh, in basketball or football.
Yeah, Jeff, we need to learn. We need to cut him off before he gets.
We do.
They'll get 5.
We get to say thank you and then not let him speak.
Bye, Keith.
Bye, Keith. Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Yo,